Nightmare. Oh, look at this. We're live. We're late. And fucking technology. Chrome. I can't open Chrome. I have to download Firefox. Something's wrong with StreamYard. I don't know what's happening. Anyway.
Try jiggling the handle.
You know what it is? It's the new iOS 17 update. That's probably
It could be the iOS 17 update because it's fucking up name drop. Oh my god. Everything's wrong. Everything's okay. Ready? Oh, I don't even know how to. I haven't been in Firefox in 15 years. Oh, it's weird in here. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable, Andrew. I'm uncomfortable. Pop out this video.
We knew that, Eric. It's okay.
Anyway, no Rodney. Welcome, America, to the Eric and Rodney Show. Presented by, hold on. Let me see this. The Eric and Rodney Show. Would you like to be on this show? Of course you would. It's so professional. We show up on time. Everything always works out. The technology is great. You should go to the ericandrodneyshow.com, fill out an application. Maybe you could be on this show. Then what's going to happen? He's going to go, oh my God, holy shit, I was so good on that show. I would like to be on other shows. We can do that for you. We can book you on 1 million podcasts. I know that sounds like a lot, and it is. We're professionals. Then you go, oh my God, I was so good on the Eric and Rodney Show. Oh my God, I was so good on the other shows. I deserve my own show. Well, you're never going to believe this. We can help you get your own show. We'll edit it, produce it, post it. What else, Robin? What else are we going to do for him?
Is that your microphone? Am I the only one hearing that? It sounds like there's
a little bit of static.
Yeah,
static?
It sounds like there's ants running around your microphone. What's going on?
Is this any better?
No,
it's worse. Oh my God, hold on. Why is everything going wrong today?
What a day.
Oh.
Muted mine and the static continued. So
is this better? Anything?
Kind of gone. Yeah.
Is better? Fuck this show. Anyway, that was my intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Andrew Deutsch, the founder of Fangled International. Right? That's what you're Fangled Group, Fangled International.
I'm clapping on Rodney's behalf.
All right. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry this happened today. It might be you, though. Have you ever considered this as your fault?
Mine or Robin?
Oh, it's clearly you.
Oh, okay. I can take it.
For the first time, I don't get the blame. Thank you.
Well, I wouldn't normally blame the guest, but we've talked 2 times, so now I feel nice and comfortable. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure if you've seen the show. Actually, I do know that you've seen the show. So the general gist is that we cover the news because America demands our opinions on such things. But before we get to that, oh my God, we have to talk about what day it is. And the cat that's in my face. Hold on. See, normally I do all this in pre-production, but fuck me. We didn't have that today. Get away from the microphone. Today's National Throw Out Your Leftovers Day. And the only reason I wanted to talk about this is because Thanksgiving leftovers, I think, are the greatest leftovers of all time. Andrew, how do you feel about this?
I 100% agree.
Thanksgiving leftovers? I mean, doesn't turkey get dry really quickly?
Turkey does, yes. Well, turkey's fucking dry in general, which is why you need it. It needs a lot of help.
Not if you cook it right.
I suppose, but just I think it's so big. The breast is so it's like, how do you cook the middle without fucking up the outside? I think you need to brine it first of all. That helps a lot. Have you brined a turkey?
Nope. I cook it in a turkey bag, and it stays moist as could be and trouble free.
I'm sorry, I've never heard of a turkey. What now?
A turkey bag. Reynolds makes them. It's a plastic. It's the same way the restaurants cook them. It's a plastic that goes in the oven. You wrap the turkey in the bag, vent it, put it in the oven. It keeps all the moisture in.
Okay.
Or you could be a knucklehead like me and not have the oven completely closed this year when I thought it was. So the first hour it wasn't cooking and we got to serve it.
How do you not completely close an oven? How does that happen?
I thought it was closed. It looked like it was closed.
Oh,
it was not closed.
You know what I did? I went to somebody's house for Thanksgiving, but I wanted to cook my own turkey for the purpose of leftovers because I think the cold turkey sandwich with mayonnaise on toasted like shitty bread is arguably a top 5 sandwich of all time. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not fancy, but it's goddamn fantastic. Robin, wait till you have one. But
so what else is on like a Thanksgiving dinner? Like mashed potatoes? What is it?
Oh, you poor boy. Yeah. Mashed potatoes, stuffing. As we've talked about, you have to get stale bread and shove it up the bird's ass. That is somehow that's become a thing that people do. Cranberry sauce. Have you had the pleasure of cranberry sauce?
I have not. No.
It's a very American thing.
It's a gelatinous goo that's very tart and very sweet. You only eat it at Thanksgiving. If you buy cranberry sauce any other part of the year, they arrest you. Gravy? You had a turkey gravy, Robin?
I don't know what a turkey gravy is, but I've had like normal gravy.
Oh, Lord,
It can't be
sweet
that
Jesus.
different.
We're going to fly you over. You're going to have a very mediocre meal, and you're going to thank us for it. But I did the whitest thing I've ever done. I've hit peak Caucasia because I cooked the turkey, but I smoked it. I smoked it in my smoker. Did you know, Robin, that they hand you, once you turn 40 and you're white in the United States, they give you a smoker. And then you're contractually obligated to take pictures of the food and the meat that you smoke and show it to people. They're contractually obligated to feign interest. It's a whole thing. You're going to love it. Andrew, do you have a smoker?
I do. I've
course you do.
smoked it. Did I ever share with you my popcorn stuffing recipe? You turn the bird on end and you put a quarter cup of popcorn in before you stuff it, and then when you put the turkey in the oven, you make the legs towards the back. Yeah. And when the stuffing blows out its backside and the turkey lands on the counter, you know it's time to eat.
That's how to properly give thanks. That sounds very American. Yeah,
it's American as fuck. There's a lot of things that are as American as fuck. Andrew, what'd you do for Thanksgiving? Do you have leftovers?
Tons of leftovers. Yeah. Normally I have like 30 something people, but this year we scaled it down. I went out to my Amish buddy's house where he raised my turkey, and I brought it back and cooked it and had 8 people for dinner. I'm
sorry, you went to an Amish guy's house for Thanksgiving?
No, I went to, he raised, a friend of mine. He raised a turkey for me again this year.
But
I went there to pick it up.
Oh, you went there to pick it up. Oh,
turkeys don't fly, especially after they're butchered.
I was very concerned because the Amish don't use electricity, right?
No, they don't. But they have solar.
Oh,
well, barn and they have solar lights, and they have out past the house. There used to be a booth where they'd have their telephone. Now they all have cell phones if they work outside their community.
I've heard the thing about the Amish is that they don't eschew all technology. They vote on which technology they're going to allow in. And if you don't have a cell phone, that's just outrageous.
Yeah. Although I don't aspire to their
wires.
Yeah, I don't aspire to their beliefs. But what it is they believe that all the modern technologies break up the family. So like if they had cars and drove, they wouldn't be together at night as a family. And if they had TVs, they wouldn't be. That's if you talk to Amish people, not as a tourist, but as a friend, you sort of get the inside scoop. I've been friends with these guys for years, and they hunt in my backyard.
I feel like what might tear apart the family is neck beards. Those things are gross. Can you tell them to shave? Can they get electric razors? Can they vote to use those? Because that is a bad look. Nobody likes
They only have beards once they're married.
I know, but if anything,
it tells the other women to leave them alone. It's a reverse hijab.
All right. This first story, I feel like we could talk about it for the rest of eternity. When Andrew and I talked was it this week or last week? I think it was last week. Doesn't matter. We talked about how the American right is so much further right than the rest of the planet to the point of absurdity. No one is as right as we are. It's batshit.
Not anymore. It's getting worse.
I don't know, man, because here's my concern before you go into the story is I read some of this dude's stuff and I'm like, I think I might agree with him. I think if I lived in the Netherlands, I would be pretty far right.
Okay. Well, I'm half Dutch, so I might have some insight on this.
That's true. Okay, I'll serve it up.
Okay, so about a week ago, I read a comment on an Instagram reel about it was a Trump rally reel, and the top comment was about how the far right is winning almost everywhere in the world. So this story is about a Dutch politician who has a very striking resemblance to Donald, and how that kind of brought me back to the Instagram comments and made me think on how right he was. So this guy, his name is Geert Wilders, and he's leading the political party, and there's no surprise, it's also called the Freedom Party. And he is well in the lead for the race to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. So my father is Dutch, which makes me half Dutch, and I just feel a little bit ashamed because when we think about the Netherlands, it's synonymous to progressiveness, and now I'm just questioning if that's the case.
Okay, so I read this, and he gets compared to Trump a lot. I think partly because of the hair. I think partly because of his style of communication. But I read a bunch of his quotes. He's educated. He's not Trump at all. Plus, he's a career politician. He didn't come from a fucking game show, and his father didn't own real estate. So he's a real guy. His main platform, it seems, is anti-Islam. And he does use some very strong rhetoric. So I pulled up some quotes. He goes, I believe the Islamic ideology is a retarded, dangerous one, but I make a distinction. I don't hate people. I don't hate Muslims. Not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims. That's a quote that's been thrown around. I didn't know that it was attributed to him. Islam is the Trojan horse in Europe. I hate consensus. I like confrontation. Okay, before we get to this last one. Hating religion is one of my favorite things to do. I can hate Christianity all day because I was raised Catholic and I'm white. But when you start to get if you're anti-Jewish, they wrap it up into race. If you're anti-Muslim, they wrap it up into race. Whereas I just hate organized religion. I think any ideology that started with Bronze Age goat herders this is before toilet paper. They didn't have ass wiping technology, yet they figured out the world. Stop it. It's fucking stupid. But then he loses me with this last one because he goes, Dutch values are based on Christianity or Judaism or humanism as opposed to Islam. Just get religion the fuck out of politics in general.
Really.
You guys can talk.
Well, humanism's code for atheism.
Yeah, humanism is fine. Yes, I'm a big Vonnegut fan. And
he didn't want to use that word.
What's that?
Obviously, he didn't want to use the word atheism, but usually when you talk about humanism, secular humanism, you talk about atheists.
Oh, yeah, it's a code word. And yeah. I don't know if you heard me discuss this before, but I looked up. There was a poll once taken, and they asked people what they would vote for in a candidate and what they wouldn't vote for. At the top was like, we'll vote for a black guy. I guess we'll vote for a woman. I guess we'll vote for a gay guy. I guess we'll vote for a Catholic. The very last thing people would consider voting for was an atheist, which I find batshit crazy on a level I can't begin to understand. There's been no atheistic wars. We don't pretend to eat or drink the blood of people in a ceremony the way the Catholics do. I don't understand the fucking hatred for people that just go, I just don't believe in anything.
Yep. It's interesting too, because the fastest growing group in the United States right now is actually non-believers.
I mean, how could you not? I think the irony is that, at least in my experience, people that when they find out, I say atheist, I'm really agnostic. They want to go, but I need to introduce you to Jesus. I'm like, no, that's the opposite. I know what you believe in, and I think it's stupid. It's not a matter of not knowing. It's knowing and going, that makes no sense. So I
can introduce you. He's my accountant, Jesus Gonzalez. He's been working for me for years. He's really good.
You know what I like about Jesus Gonzalez? He's real.
Yeah.
I'm already in. I'm in.
He's a really good accountant too.
I'm sure he is. He sounds great. But so this guy, he makes a lot of good points. He's like, some of the other quotes were like, everyone thinks I'm a radical, but he got the vote of 1 out of every 3 or 1 out of every 4 people in the Netherlands voted for him. Like in the United States, Donald Trump lost the popular election. He electrified a base and they came out to vote for him, but I don't think he represents the majority of Americans. In this case, a lot of people voted in this election. It seems to be that they don't want Islam to be a part of their government. And I fucking understand that, and partly because the left, and they're my team, I've always had a problem with this. We're tolerant of intolerance. If you have an Islamic government, they're not very nice to women. They're not very nice to homosexuals. The 5 countries where it's illegal to be gay are all Islamic nations. So the left being tolerant of intolerance bothers me to my core.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think in this country people are voting for a candidate, or are they voting mostly to eliminate the possibility of another candidate? I hate that guy so much, I got to vote for this one.
It's the second.
Or I've got a tattoo of an R or a D somewhere where I can't show you, and that requires me to vote a certain way.
I think it's we vote for teams. Just the way, like, I'm a Red Sox and a Patriots fan. I vote for the jersey. A player leaves, I'm like, well, fuck him. I'm on the, I vote for I root for laundry. And that's what we do politically. And it seems like a dumb analogy, but it's true. Yeah. And we have the lesser of 2 evils now.
Yeah, I'll provide some more context on this. Well, I totally get the people who are very far right, and the big problem in the Netherlands, and a lot of the reason why Dutch people are angry is because there are a lot of Moroccan immigrants, and they form all the gangs, they handle all the drugs, and they're just hard to not the first generation, but the second and the third generation Moroccans are very hard to integrate into society.
That was my understanding as I read this article and did further research. Is I had no idea that the Moroccans were a problem anywhere. I mean, in the United States, we know nothing. I mean, how are we supposed to keep up with global politics and who's forming gangs where? Yeah. But yeah, Moroccans are a huge fucking problem over there. It's crazy. Cats are a
So
huge problem.
I get it. It's kind of like picking the lesser evil, but it's still kind of fucked up.
It is kind of fucked up, but allowing religion to take over politics, there needs to be a hard line. I believe it should have never entered it in the first place. I hate that we have the fucking 10 commandments on government property. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. But you can't subtract the race aspect of this, and this is where it gets very muddy. Oof.
Yeah, well, we live in a time where if you repeat something enough, people start to believe that it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you'll listen to speeches, for example, from this Trump gentleman. I say that sarcastically. He keeps saying Marxist, racist, communist, fascist, just to pull the meaning out of the words. It's all in the cult playbook. It's definition of gaslighting of people. If I repeat that word so many times, when somebody accuses me of it, it's, oh no, I've been accusing them. It can't be me.
And I think what's sort of bizarre about this is, certainly in this country, the right calls the left Nazis, the left calls the right Nazis, and we've defanged all these words to the point of absurdity. You don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah. Well, the definition of fascism, you can't find three people who agree what that is.
Yeah.
But we can look at the history, we can look at speech patterns, and we can look at that and really recognize the one who admires it and the one who doesn't.
And here's the thing too, Robin, this seems crazy over there that they're fighting like the Muslim ideology in the open. Imagine though, if that shit came to the United States, we have so many hillbillies with guns, like the very idea that there would be any Islamic ideology in American politics, we would burn the fucking country to the ground. Yeah. So you think it's bad that they're having a discourse over it? We'd be in full scale war.
Yeah, well, not to put Robin on the spot, but talk about your past president and how many supposed drug dealers he had taken care of.
Oh yeah, are you talking about Duterte?
Of course.
Yeah. So this guy was really batshit crazy. What he did was he just incriminated anyone who was like had the faintest idea of that they were using drugs. And he even was like, even if you're not part of the police, just kill me a person who's doing drugs, you'll be rewarded for it. So there were thousands of cases of extrajudicial killings in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, there was a lot of suspicion where like people who were against the lobbyists would just plant drugs on the innocent and then have them murdered. Mm-hmm. So it was a whole issue in the Philippines. Yeah. I'm glad that's over though.
Yeah. And now there's a new guy that just won Argentina, who is truly batshit crazy, radical. The guy was, I believe, if I get this right, I don't want to defame him if I'm wrong, but I understand was one of his professions was a tantric educator. But he went around. He's gonna throw these departments of the government out. He's gonna do all of these things. He campaigned with a chainsaw about the cuts he was going to make, in an economy that's already destroyed, going to do catastrophic damage to the Argentine.
I saw like out of the 19 government agencies, he's going to cut 12 of them or something. It's really, see, I just think, somewhat disappointingly, when I was doing a lot of reading on genetics, there's sort of a genetic predisposition with all humans to either have conservative ideology or progressive ideology, and that will never change. So there's always going to be half of the population in any given country that wants a strong militant leader. Like I like that idea. I think that's where religion comes from. We want a God who fucking knows everything. We want to be told what to do, a direction. We don't want it right, left, black, white. We don't like the gray middle. And half the people are always going to want that. So yeah, this guy's a fucking tough guy, badass, cutting things, doesn't give a fuck, killing drug dealers. That appeals to half the population.
Yeah. I lived in Brazil for about 10 years. And prior to this Bolsonaro guy, who was mini Trump, taking over, a conservative in Brazil was to the left of a Democrat in the U.S.
Oh, I mean,
so it's, if you want to talk about the world with just the labels and not the substance, it's very easy to not have an adult conversation. So like, for example, the far left in Brazil would get elected on their economic policy on what they would call microempresa, small business. Well, in the U.S., a small business could be having $100 million in sales in a year. In Brazil, a small business is a guy with a wagon with selling hot dogs. Right. So if we're talking micro business, are we talking about the same thing, or do we need to define the parameters of the conversation so that it makes sense?
So complicated.
It's the same thing in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I just real quick. We've done a lot on this one story, but the anti-drug thing. Can we imagine what would happen if we just legalized drugs all across the planet? No more gangs, a lot less murder, the clean money, taxed product, no fentanyl. Like, what are we doing? Drugs won the drug war. Just allow. Okay, now they won. Now let's figure out how to redistribute them in society in a way that tax dollars can go up. We can stop wasting police time, arresting people for petty crimes, putting them in jail, getting them back on the streets. We can treat people with drug problems as opposed to making them the homeless that we hate so much. Like, just legalize fucking drugs already.
Yeah. Well, the so far the progress in Portugal where they are legal has been positive in what you're describing. It's a little too soon to declare victory, but it sure seems to be working for them.
That is Porto right there. When I went, that's when I learned about their drug thing. So if you're caught like drunk on the streets 3 times, I think it's 3, or high on the streets, instead of arresting you, they assign you a nurse. Isn't that a better way to do things? I think. I mean, the recidivism rate in the United States is fucking horrendous because you're in a cycle of getting arrested. You have a felony on your record. You have to put that on your application. You don't get hired. Your only choice now is to go sell more drugs where you're going to get arrested again, put back in prison. You can't get a job. What are you going to do? Sell more drugs. It's a broken system across the board. Drugs won. Yeah. Let's just figure out a new way.
Well, it depends who the nurse is.
Well, is she hot? That's the question.
Or that one from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah.
I'm not saying my plan is perfect. I'm saying we got to move in a different direction. All right, it's from politics to running over elephants.
That's a great story.
It's a big jump. Okay, so I've always kind of been fascinated with elephants because they're one of the most sentient creatures in the animal kingdom. I love them so much. In fact, I actually have a little elephant tattooed on my face.
I get punished.
See that?
Look at elephant. Holy shit. Wow.
Andrew's very high tech. So when I was actually 6 years old, I wanted to be an elephant. So after the show gets famous and we all get rich, I still plan to do that. They're massive. They eat salad all day and just take naps. And they don't have to pay taxes. So this story goes to prove my point even more. Elephants have very human-like feelings. This happens in Malaysia where a speeding car hit an elephant calf.
Yeah.
As a result, the herd that it belonged to trampled the car, and there seems to be now violent encounters between this particular elephant herd and cars that now pass by the territory.
I don't want to say Asians are bad at driving, but how the fuck do you hit an elephant? Like that's I can say that because there's an Asian on the show, right? They're born.
And I can confirm we are really bad.
These things weigh 225 pounds at birth. How do you hit an elephant?
I don't know.
But here it's hitting a deer.
Here it's hitting a deer and it'll fuck your car up. Can you imagine? Like, okay, I understand that the rest of them trampled the car in revenge, but I think the baby elephant probably did enough damage. I mean, there was no pictures of it, but look, this thing rams this thing once and look what happened.
Yeah. That's why I make fun of hunters. They talk about how difficult it is to kill a deer with a bullet that goes at whatever speed. I can get one at 55 miles an hour.
Hunting, by the way, listen, I'm not a vegetarian. But this hunting, like you hide in camouflage up in a tree and you're covered in deer piss. That's not fair to the animal. It should be combat. You should have to go smack it in the face with a glove and then wrestle the deer to the ground. Shouldn't you? This isn't hunting. Fucking hiding.
Around here, we're glad for the hunters because the deer outnumber the people.
Oh yeah, I don't
destroy everything. So. And
somebody has to do it. It just seems
they become food. People eat them.
Yeah, and venison is delightful. Robin, I don't know if this is going to bring back any trauma, but have you seen Dumbo?
I don't think I have. No, but I know it's about the elephant that flies with the ears, right?
Yeah, but it has what I would argue is one of the saddest scenes in cinematic history, which is when Dumbo's mother is captured and then she rocks Dumbo like through the cage. So she's saying goodbye to her kid and she's like rocking him. That is so heartbreakingly sad.
What happened to Disney? They used to make these kinds of movies. Now
they used to rip the hearts out of toddlers and piss on them. Like Bambi's mother gets, speaking of hunting, like Bambi's mother gets shot.
Oh yeah.
Minutes. Like they were just off the parents in the worst possible ways. They didn't give a fuck. Traumatic.
They portrayed it how it was.
Back when we still recognized that kids learn from adversity too.
Yeah, dead parents.
Completely wrapping in bubble wrap and not allowing to experience life. There's no way to grow children.
No, the way you
I
the way you raise children is you traumatize the fuck out of them, and then, well, you're a therapist, so you know they a lot of good business with fucked up kids. This story has a happy ending though. So while the other elephants were stomping on the car to get revenge, the baby elephant did get up and walked away, and then the rest of the elephants they fuck, let's get out of here. Elephants are smart. They're very smart creatures. What I don't understand though is that, like, shouldn't they be smarter? Because from what I understand, humans with bigger heads tend to be smarter because we have more brain. And I know that's a dumb, like, because if your head's bigger, they don't put packing peanuts in it. It's more brain matter. Elephants' brains have to be fucking ginormous. Maybe they can't write poetry because they don't have hands. But perhaps if they did, they'd be doing the greatest art ever known to elephant kind. I don't know. All right, what's the next story?
It's the opposable thumbs.
It's the opposable thumbs. Yeah. They'd be writing all the greatest novels, directing the finest films. They just don't have thumbs. It's the one thing holding them back.
Okay, let's move to this one's a bit of a jump as well. Do all of us have iPhones? Andrew, you have an iPhone? Or do you prefer?
I'm an Android guy.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's a first. Okay, no, but I'm totally with you after this. So Apple has done a lot of great things in the past, and sometimes it does stuff that we weren't even ready for. And we thought we didn't even need it. Now there's this new update on the iOS 17 that's causing quite a stir. So it's a new feature that's called Name Drop. It's a bit invasive because it allows people to easily exchange personal information with other iPhone users near you. But the problem is, after the iOS 17 updates, all the iPhones will have it automatically turned on. So like the police are on high alert because they're just telling everyone to make sure you turn it off because you might leak personal data by accident.
Yeah, if you got 17. Okay, so this is another one of those things where I think everybody's just jumping on the victimhood bandwagon. I read the article. Evidently, yes, it is turned on, Name Drop, but you have to be very close. Like, you essentially have to tap phones, and then it asks you if you want to accept the information or send the information. So, like, everybody needs to pump the fucking brakes. First of all, it's a useless feature. I don't know why people are doing this. Isn't part of the fun of exchanging numbers and is just like dicking around and go, oh, I'm sorry, what's it? One more time? What's it? You know what I mean? Like sitting there and trying to fucking get it right, get their name in the phone.
Well, all the rom-coms, you pass your phone to the other person and they put it in for you.
That too, yes, right. That's the move. I think that's
how Robin's going to meet his next girlfriend.
His next, well, he's in a very very serious relationship. Although,
just don't tell her about it; it'll be all right.
Robin, what's going on?
He doesn't watch the show.
As if I know anything about you.
No, you're right.
I think I'm fine.
You're just going to be tapping phones. Is that going to be the new thing? Tapping phones? Is that that's going to be a move?
That's the new euphemism.
Tapping phones.
That's a new way to describe phone sex.
Tap her phone.
Hey now. Hey. Apple does. I do feel bad for them because they constantly have to come up with new features because they are innovative, but they've run out of ideas. Taking the headphone jack away from the thing sucked. I didn't mind the button. There's no buttons anymore. It's just, they're running out of ideas. So I think this is just another one of those dumbass things. Do you want to do Steve real quick? You want to blast through these before we talk to Andrew?
Yeah, let's do Steve. So I'm probably not smart enough to do this article, but I'll share what I do understand. So we're all captivated by the aurora lights. They've been a phenomenon for thousands of years. Essentially what it is, it's a solar storm where the light particles interact with our atmosphere and they produce beautiful displays of light. I think that's what it is. Now, every 11 years, there's a increased solar activity that goes on with the Earth. And because of that, more visible light reactions are there in the sky. The most notable one isn't the aurora lights. It's actually a newly loved phenomenon called Steve.
Yeah, so they discovered a proton arc. These amateur sky looker guys. What are they called? I don't know. There's a fucking term for it. Anyway, this phenomenon didn't have a name. It's very pretty, and as a placeholder, they started calling it Steve, and now the name is stuck. So now it's in scientific journals. And so this is isn't it beautiful? This is a Steve. Does this do anything for you guys? Are you into?
Kind of looks like the Monster logo.
It does. You think God drinks Monster Energy?
This is good marketing, yeah.
I have two thoughts on this. One, this would be amazing on mushrooms. I think that's the big takeaway here. If you did some mushrooms and stared into the sky and Steve was there, I mean, I think you'd feel like one. The other thing is, in general, these sort of phenomenons don't really fill my soul. I'm not an outdoorsy kind of guy. My sister lives, I think she's in Indonesia, Malaysia. I should probably know this, but she posts on Instagram constantly right now. So she's here. She lives on a little hut with the stilts, and this is her view. She lives there with her husband and her son for a few months. I mean, this also doesn't do anything for me. I just like couches and TV and drinking. Does that make we're going through a time where everyone likes hiking? I don't like being outside. I think outside's terrible, even when it looks like this. So I guess my question to you two is, does the outdoors speak to your soul? Does it do anything for you? Does this look exciting? Would you like to go see this?
Sure.
Even that, I think you're on my team. Even that's not
I like both. I'm just as happy to be out hiking and wandering around as doing stuff here at the house.
Really?
Yeah. I enjoy all of it.
Oh,
Maybe if it was, I don't enjoy like the hiking and the trekking, but like if there's like a convenient bus that takes me to the Royal Lights, maybe I'd be on board, but I don't want to like hike for a few hundred miles to get here.
No,
yeah, the most appealing thing to me is this little house right here. If I could be there and I can go outside, look at this for a couple minutes, go back in and have a drink, okay.
I've done mountain hikes. I've done all of that stuff, and I'm also happy to sit at home and knit a sweater.
See, my sister, she did an Instagram story where she took her camera and walked how far it takes them to go to the bathroom. It's like a 3-minute walk, which doesn't seem outrageous, but that's 3 minutes too long to me. I need to be within 15 seconds.
Wait, she does not have indoor plumbing?
No, why? Where the fuck are you going to plumb? This is, I mean, I guess if you're a dude, you just piss off the side of the house. But if you're a lady,
she really lives here. It's not like a vacation thing, is it?
It's a 3 or 4 month. Her husband is he's an entomologist by trade, but he's studying creatures in the sea or some shit. I don't know. Yeah, but it's 4 months of no electricity and walking too many minutes to the bathroom.
So you keep a bucket under your desk? Is that what you're telling us, Eric?
I write my Dunkin' Donuts. As soon as I'm done with this, I fill it back up with piss. I'm an innovator. This is American innovation. Okay, well, listen, we have some more stories, but I think we need to get to the bottom of who Andrew Deutsch is. Deutsch is German for German. Is that right?
It is, but we're not.
Oh, that's confusing.
Yeah.
So where did the name come about?
There was back in the era of Austria-Hungary and Europe, when it was all one region, the peasants had no surnames. So the German prince went village to village to name people so they could count them and tax them and eventually, try to kill them off. So one neighborhood was Schwartz, one was Einstein, one was Deutsch. So I know lots of people with my last name I'm not related to.
Wow.
That's very history repeats itself, because that's the exact same story what the Spaniards did in the Philippines. That's why my middle name is Valdez. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, depending which occupier happened to be in charge of the Philippines at that moment. Yeah.
Andrew lived in the Philippines, so I want to touch on that. But before we get there,
I didn't live there. I worked there.
You worked there, yeah.
My son-in-law's from there.
You know an awful lot about squid balls.
I do. They're delicious.
They can't be bad. But before we get there, you want to give us a little history so we know who you are?
Yeah. So my background, I'm the owner of the consulting company today called the Fangled Group. Mm-hmm. Most of my career was in international trade. Up until maybe 10, 15 years ago, I spent most of my time overseas helping American companies find ways to market and sell globally. My office actually started when I was living in the south of Brazil, where I stayed for about 10 years and really sort of cut my teeth and built the business. Came back to the States, and of course the market fell apart in around 2007. And then I went back to actually work for companies as an employee. I was brought in to run the international division of what was a client of mine that I had broken into the Latin American market. Spent the next 7 years traveling for them, like 300,000 air miles, 45 countries a year, and blew up their business. And then from there, have been doing consulting work. So private equity groups will bring me in to help sort out the marketing and sales issues of businesses that they probably shouldn't have bought in the first place, or companies that are stuck. We do work with clients who are looking for a creative way to grow their business, taking a lot in the industrial space. So a lot of products most people don't find sexy, we make them sexy and get them excited and sell in the market and sell, finding their niche in special places to grow.
The international part fascinates me. And if anyone's watched any part of the show, I do talk about food a lot, but I just think there's a lot of things in the United States that we have 8 billion of. For example, bourbon. There's 8 billion bourbons. The rest of the world doesn't really have a great brown booze. That seems to me such fertile ground. If we would just take some of the excess we have in the United States and bring some of these products abroad, like overseas, their chocolate 10 billion times better than ours. But we do some things way better than the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a viable thing, taking our shit? We did a story about a Japanese guy who went to Mexico, discovered tacos, brought them to Japan, and he's fucking crushing it because Japan in 2023 still didn't have tacos. Doesn't it seem like, what are we doing oversaturating the market here when it's a global economy? Can't we start selling our shit somewhere else?
It's a much bigger question than we have time for today, but
we have 25 minutes. We can't figure this out now.
No, 18 minutes, 18 and a third.
Okay.
But there's a lot of layers to it. One of them is the presumption that people want what we have.
Right.
I don't know much. I worked in the craft brewery and craft distillery market. One of my accomplishments in life, my name is on the patent for the hybrid aging vessel for the spirits industry. I
like where this is going.
Invented that. But the issue at hand is, first of all, where are you going with it? Do they know that it exists? And it really goes back to the old product development process within our consulting business. 3 kinds of products exist. There's a product where there is a known problem in the world.
Yep.
I know that it's a problem. I have a solution to that problem, and everybody's going to recognize it. Easy product to take to market. Second product, I have a product that when people recognize it solves a problem they didn't even know they had, they're going to buy. That's the iPad, the smartphone.
I was just going to say, that sounds like an iPhone. Yeah. I didn't know I wanted this in my pocket, but it turns out I really fucking did.
As soon as you see it, you go, oh my God, that thing can do this, it can do this, it can do this, it solves my problems. And then the third is a luxury or something that doesn't solve any problem that anybody ever had. Yeah. And that's what a lot of these things are that we have in the US that we think that we can sell overseas. So for example, if you turn on CNN, Fox, MSNBC at 3 a.m., that's where you can learn about all those products because that's what's in the infomercials. We've resolved the American problem of opening cans. Yeah. Who knew it was a problem? We've got the best way to put your shoes on or your socks on. Right. Those are the products that so many people think the rest of the world wants, and they don't.
That's because we've reached peak capitalism. We're just making up things.
And then the other is the economic constraints. So in countries where a minimum wage might be $300 a month or less, and now we want to sell them a $100 bottle of whiskey. There is a very small niche within that. Well, a perfect example of it. I was involved greatly with the furniture industry back in the 90s, bringing American reclining sofas, specialty furniture into the South American market. So we would be talking with American manufacturers, and they're like, well, there's X number of million people in the country. We should be able to. And it's, hold on a minute. There's less than 1% of that market that could afford what you guys are making. Yep. And the culture of how furniture is made, the styles, what rooms they fit in, all of the things that matter in huge American homes don't exist in that market. So imagine we find a consumer who has the money, but the door to their apartment isn't big enough to get the furniture in. And now you've brought a 40-foot container of that furniture to that country. Yeah. We did research for a company that was a main manufacturer of under sink garbage disposals for Brazil. Mm-hmm. They were interested in breaking the market, and we did the research and basically came back. The reason we have them in the U.S. is for hygienic reasons. It's building code requires them. We're very busy, and we want to clean the kitchen. All of these things. Nobody wants a slop sink. In places in South America that could afford an under sink garbage disposal, you know what they have in their house? A maid. Do you care if that person that you're underpaying that isn't making enough money to feed their family has to stick their hand in the drain? Yeah. No. The only reason that someone in that market would have bought an under sink disposal was to show off to their friends. It was a vanity thing. It had no functional reason. We couldn't find any specific segment within the market that was like, we need that. And all the plumbing systems are so old. If you go to a fancy place in many South American countries to use the bathroom, there's a trash can next to the toilet for the paper. You can't flush it because it'll plug up the whole street. So all of those factors involved, you really have to understand that market before you take your product globally.
There's a great documentary. I think it's Stone Brewery. I believe they're out of California, but there's a documentary where they try to bring their beer to Germany, thinking you guys like beer. We make great beer. Wait till you have American beer. And every single thing was a problem. One, like German labor. They take cigarette breaks every 2 seconds. They fucking take vacations. So the construction of the brewery itself took way longer than anticipated. I believe it took 3 times as long.
Mm-hmm.
Once they got it, our beer is just more expensive than theirs. It's hoppier. It's higher in ABV. And they're like, we don't like this. We want to have 50, but we can only have 3 of yours because it's 8%. So it failed miserably. But you go, Germans like beer. We have good beer.
Yep.
Isn't that a perfect marriage? No, failed terribly.
Yep.
Isn't that what we call merchandising, where they like study the local market and see if it's a fit? Is that merchandising?
Kind of. But merchandising is more the actual process of getting it out there than it is the study part. But what we consider to be a necessity, others look at as vanity. I'll give you an example of, in the US, Americans tend to be, especially people out of the urban areas, tend to be very much into their hobbies and crafts. Mm-hmm. So you'll find people in other countries, that's what they do to earn a living. Right. So if knitting, for example, here it's a hobby that people do. It's relaxing. And you're spending a great deal more on the materials to make a sweater that you could buy a sweater for. Yeah. All of the pleasure involved in it. So if you created a product to help knitters in the US and then you took it to, say, the Philippines, where it's too hot for sweaters and people work in the textile industry as a job, the chances of you finding a market for that product, because for here it's a hobby, it's a craft, it's a luxury sort of vanity thing. There it's not. So you have to have a cultural mash with what you're doing before you take it to market.
Yeah, it's funny because every year during November, December, there's always like the winter collections in the fashion industry.
Yeah. In
the Philippines, sales go down the shitter because there's no winter here, but they keep trying to sell it to us. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's a lack of understanding. There's probably 100 cases that I could go through where we've seen the mismatch and why it's failed over the years. From a technology perspective, for example, when I was working in the strapping industry, plastic strapping was the stuff that holds stuff to pallets. Yeah. In India, there's something like 3,000 or 4,000 locations where they bale cotton every year. And baled cotton is done, a press pulls this massive bale down into a small pack. They were wrapping it with wire, twisting the wire, and then when the pressure came off, it would hold it together so they could ship it. And what was happening is that wire in the humidity would rust. So there was a shift in the market towards polyester strapping, which is a plastic that has extreme strength. The tools that exist for sealing polyester are metal clips or friction or heat that melt the strap to create the seal. So we had tools that existed that were designed to tension the strap and then seal it. Well, in India, everything was being tensioned. So if you tensioned the strap before you sealed it, when the bale would open, it was too much pressure, it would explode. Oh. So we basically dumbed down the tool to only seal to use in those locations. And we sold thousands of these tools, which completely, and you would think, well, in India, the labor's so cheap. It didn't matter the labor. There was no rust on the cotton. There was no waste. It was faster. It was safer. At the end, when they were cutting it, there wasn't a wire that could injure somebody when they cut the bales. So in this case, we were able to adapt the technology to that country's specific need. And then we were able to open, I sold into Uzbekistan and all these other cotton producing countries. But okay. Which is, by the way, a real place. Uzbekistan, yeah. In Uzbekistan, every citizen is required to pick a certain amount of cotton, at least back in those days. Every citizen had to go in the cotton field to pick a certain amount of cotton as part of their almost like they're paying of taxes. It's like such a large cotton producing country.
All right, now that you said that, I'm never going to Uzbekistan. It sounds awful. So you've done a lot of wacky shit, but not only that, you used to be a therapist.
Yep, that was my first years out of college. Yeah.
How long were you a therapist?
Well, I went to college and studied international trade. And when I graduated with a bachelor's, realized that there were no jobs for someone with a bachelor's degree. Mm-hmm. The economy was on the sticks, or on the whatever you want to call it, and there were no jobs for MBAs. So I said, well, I want to be in global trade. I want to be able to do multicultural marketing. And otherwise, I went back to school to study and became got my degree in that.
Yeah.
And while I was trying to get into that profession, I had interns. I was working in private practice as a therapist and also in community things. And then as I started to get more and more involved with folks through a different organization, it's a long story. I started to gain opportunities to do some work in Central and South America in trade, and eventually transitioned over until I ended up moving down to Brazil for a 90-day project that took me 10 years.
Yeah, that's I mean, tale as old as time, right? You're a therapist, you moved to Brazil, and here you are on a podcast. I mean, this is very straightforward and really boring in a lot of ways. Let me ask you this.
Apologize for not having a complicated story to tell. I know you wanted one.
A little vanilla. But so, okay, my question about the therapy, because I want to lead you into this. I know that you have I don't know, I'll say disdain. I have a disdain. We're in a world of life coaches. And you've said something to the effect of life coaches are just sort of like therapists without degrees or something. Like, what's your line on that?
Well, remember, I'm old enough to remember when the life coach became a thing, which was the 80s. And at that time, everyone that I knew who was not admitted to grad school that wanted to be a therapist somehow took a weekend course and started calling themselves a life coach. Now, I'm sure, and I do know some life coaches that have training and do very good things for people. What's missing is when you're working with people and there is an actual diagnosable psychological problem and you're a life coach, you don't have the training to work with it.
Well, it's like I
don't want to crap on all life coaches, but there are people who truly benefit from that model, but really sick people do not. And when COVID hit, what happened? Everybody who lost their job decided they were a coach or a consultant or whatever, and flooded the market with that. It was
there's no real governing body. Like I'm a gynecology coach. I'm not a doctor, but I'll take a look. Like you just say you're a fucking coach and you start collecting.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist because I took a weekend course once where and that was a big portion of my practice. I do have extensive training in hypnosis and biofeedback, but the first class I went to was a Saturday class, and at the end I got a certificate that I was now a certified hypnotherapist. Which is a nonsense certificate.
Well, I was going to say, is the test hypnotizing somebody?
And is hypnosis real?
You talking about EST?
Test.
Oh.
Like, a Sunday, they're like, oh, it's 4:30. The class is almost up. You got to hypnotize somebody to pass the test.
Yeah.
You really so in
the class, you're hypnotizing the other people in the class after the instruction.
You think you could hypnotize?
Everybody break off in pairs.
Huh? Do you think you could hypnotize us? I mean, I'm not going to make you do it right now because I have shit to do.
I haven't been in practice in years, but certainly,
I could certainly be hypnotized.
Certainly.
So you can bend people to do your bidding. Is that
no? That isn't how. It isn't what hypnosis is. The problem is too many people have watched too many movies and seen the crazy stage shows and things like that. Where a stage show is set up, the whole first part of that show is to pick out and isolate those from the audience that will do crazy shit.
Yeah, like
and allow hypnosis to be the excuse why they did it.
Quack like a duck.
Subconscious level, but not everyone who's hypnotized. You're hypnotized most of the day. When you're watching a TV show and your thoughts go away and you're not really watching the show and you're off in that's a state of hypnosis. It's not this magical Svengali bullshit that
I was hoping was going to be
that you were so hoping for.
I'm disappointed.
Wait, I'll hypnotize you. Are you hypnotized? That's the Austin Powers hypnosis.
All right, so life coaches are hacks. Well, I don't want to say that. I'll say it. Okay. Life coaches are hacks, and I think it's one of those things too where everybody 2 years ago was a crypto bro, and then everybody on LinkedIn, and then everybody was an NFT expert, and now everyone's an AI expert. And I think life coach was right before. Like it's all these weird things that all these people on the fringe get really into until the next thing comes along.
Yeah, it's the superfruit.
Yeah.
When was the last time you heard someone mention a goji berry?
Oh, I know. Remember goji berries and
acai bowls and
kombucha.
Yeah, because everybody wants to drink vinegar made from tea.
Vinegar. Remember we were drinking vinegar shots? The United States is out of the goddamn minds.
Yeah.
What year was this? Was I born?
I think it was last week.
This all-
Goji berries?
Goji berries about 10 years, I think.
Yeah, I had some goji berries. They're not very good. I like dry, like craisins. Yeah,
No, people want to believe, and we're incredible marketers. Yeah. And social media has sped up the time to market. And it's why Americans fall for multi-level marketing scams
all the time.
They fall for all of these different things. I remember in like 1980, I want to say it was like 1980, 81. There was a product on TV called Grapefruit Power. It was, you could lose weight with grapefruit. And I would see people eating 10 grapefruit a day because they weren't going to buy the pills. Why get it in the pills when I can eat all the grapefruit?
Yeah, well,
and at the end of the day, I don't know that there's any science behind grapefruit helping anyone.
No. But to be fair, if all you do is eat 10 grapefruits a day, you'll lose some weight. I mean, you might die, but you'll also lose some weight along the way.
But it's the gullibility of the consumer that people prey on.
Yeah. You know what it is? Like it is every facet of life. Fitness, for example, it was like sweating to the oldies, curves for women, the Thigh Master, fucking gluten-free, CrossFit, keto. We every 2 years, and people swear up and down. No. I know the rest of it was bullshit.
You haven't set up to do ice plunges and cryotherapy in your house?
Ice plunges, fucking cold showers, journaling, meditation, waking up at 4 a.m, don't eat sugar, all this fucking wacko bullshit. Do you think that's what Henry Ford did? Do you think that's what Einstein did? No, they just fucking worked. Just fucking work.
No, I know for a fact that Henry Ford wasn't doing ice plunges.
You know that?
He was too busy making black cars and discriminating against Jewish people.
Yeah, he was right. You can't be an anti-Semite and take cold baths. You don't have the time.
No.
Oh man, we don't. There's so much I want to talk about.
We'll do it again.
We were late, so we can do this for another 3 hours. Can we talk about your podcast? So you used to have a podcast, and you've been not doing it for how long? It's been a couple of years, hasn't it?
It's been a couple of years. I'm about to bring it back.
Why did you start it, and what sort of success did you see from it, if any? Because we're in the podcast business.
Sure. I mean, there were three core strategies that I was using the tactic of podcast. One, as a consultant, there's lots of businesses that I believe can benefit from my services. And if I can't get in the door because they don't think they need a consultant, if you're the CEO of a company that I think I can help, and instead come to you and talk to you and say, hey, I'd really like to have you on my podcast as a guest, it's an opportunity for you to get to know me, talk about your business. Mm-hmm. And many of those things turned into engagements for the business. So that was one piece of it. I didn't care if I had 1 viewer or 100 viewers or 10,000 viewers. Right. If I was able to land that. The second was, there are some really interesting people out there that I want to learn from. Mm-hmm. And I had them on because I wanted to learn what they have. There was a gentleman who actually I knew in college. His entire consulting business is based on research he was involved with on the levels of curiosity, measuring the levels of curiosity in human beings under the theory that the higher levels of curiosity led to higher output in manufacturing and in companies.
Was that true?
I wanted to understand. Yes. I wanted to understand, how do you measure curiosity? And when you do, are there ways to coach and work with employees to increase those levels so I had him on the show because I really wanted to have that conversation. It was really interesting.
I think curiosity and sense of humor are two huge indicators of intelligence.
I do too. But anyhow, he was fast. There was a guy who completely debunked the world of how you use demographics in the marketing world. This guy, David Allison from Vancouver. Brilliant. I wanted to talk to him because I was really interested in what he had to say. So that was a self-serving purpose. Yep. And it also gave people an opportunity to see how I have an adult conversation with another business person. And then the third was kind of a staged thing that I did to get in, where the CEO wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't come on the podcast, but I had something that would help. So, for example, being able to build product configurators within the web for a company that wants to sell online. So you as the consumer can go in and build things. There was a company that I very much wanted to sell those services to because I saw an opportunity. So I had a guy on and we discussed a past project that I was on where we built those. And then I got someone within his sphere of influence to listen to the podcast. And the next thing I knew, I was selling that service. So those were sort of the three reasons that I did it. And the other is because it's kind of fun.
It is kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah. And I enjoy more this type of a podcast where you're kidding around and kind of the way in the old days when we could kid around and nobody gets offended and talk about things that matter and interest. I believe that when people see us in a situation like this, it sort of defuses the whole beginning of ice breaking to get to know, is this somebody I want to work with or isn't it?
Exactly.
I'm hoping that if somebody sees me on here and thinks I'm an obnoxious jerk and don't know what I'm talking about, that they don't call me. Because I don't want to go through the process of making a proposal and trying to get in and do all that work for somebody who it's going to be a miserable situation anyhow.
It's beautifully self-segmenting because, I mean, in a myriad of ways, if you get on this and you sniff them out as a potential shitty client.
By the way, that person that was just on here, Saya is a friend of mine who's also an expert in the world of podcasts. She has.
I know, because you know what I do for the guests. I do research. So I watched your show I watched you on her show, and then I friend requested her on LinkedIn. Yeah. Is that what it's called? I don't fucking know.
This was a connection I was going to make for you to meet her. So.
Oh my God! See, I'm way ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
you know why? Because I'm curious and funny, and that makes me smarter than everybody else.
She's brilliant. You'll really like to meet her.
Yeah. There you go. She's here. Fuck. How much time do we have? I will say this. So both Robin and I are in the cold email business to some degree. Our cold email that goes out has the subject line, first name, comma, podcast guest, ? And we have something like an 80% open rate. My mother doesn't open 80% of the emails I send her. And we are booked out until almost March at this point. And the lesson here is that everyone hates a sales pitch, but everybody loves, do you want to be on my podcast? So it fucking works.
Yeah. Well, you get me on that whole hate. Everybody loves to be sold.
Everybody likes to be famous.
No, people love to be sold because being sold means that somebody recognized the need that you had, found a solution, and is offering it to you in a way that makes sense financially.
Mm-hmm. That too.
And
we all like money.
We all like, what we don't like is to be pitched. We don't like to be lured, arm twisted, deceived, bothered, annoyed.
I think some of those things are okay as long as I'm honest about it, which I tend to be in the messaging. I'm like, I want you on, but I'm going to try to sell you shit. I mean, not you, but other people. Anyway, what about my shit? I don't have much shit to sell you. Do you want me to run back my divorce pies idea? I'm not sure what your marital status is, but
married.
Okay, well, eventually you're going to get divorced. Wouldn't it be better if someone sends you a pie as opposed to not sending you a pie? My only point is wedding cakes dominate the marital pastry market, but half of marriages end in divorce, and there's no pastry for divorce. Divorce pie.
Well, I'm bringing to market something that may work with that. We're changing a marriage license completely. Now, a marriage license expires every 5 years.
And you have to re-up?
At the end of 5 years, you have to go back and re-up the license. Otherwise, you just divide your stuff and go.
This is great because it's going to work either way. It's either, hey, we're staying together, here's a pie, or we've decided to go our separate ways, here's a pie. A pie always makes an occasion better.
It's the same with the new church that I'm coming out with. Most churches have that tithing deal at 10%.
Yeah.
Mine's only 5%.
Not bad.
And it's a guarantee. And it's such a good guarantee that if your 5% that you've paid into my new religion doesn't get you into heaven, if you don't get in, you get to come back and we double refund your money. If you let us know you didn't get in, double your money back if it didn't work.
Let me ask you this, because
every religion, right?
Yes.
I hope it's satire.
Well, let me ask you this, because every religion has sort of weird sex stuff, particularly cults. What's the weird sex thing going to be surrounding this religion? There has to be one. There always is one. Rules about masturbation, like what can I do and what can't I do? You don't have to tell me now. But okay, imagine a divorce party, but instead of cakes, you have pies. Oh, divorce pies. Buypies.com. Don't try to buy it. I already own it. Anyway, listen, I'm sorry I was 2 minutes late. I don't think it was my fault. I still can't get Chrome to open. Everything was a disaster, but you saved it because you're goddamn professional. You know what I like about you, Andrew German? You pontificate. We need more pontificators. People need, I ask you a question and you answer with a thoughtful, thought-provoking answer, and we need more of that in the world.
Well, thank you. I have one of those pontificate boats that I go out. Oh no, it's pontoon. I'm sorry.
It's very close though.
I got confused. I want to know why Rodney's afraid of me that he didn't show up.
Rodney blamed StreamYard itself. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we went over the hour. Thank you very much. I'd love to have you back on again. I say that to lots of guests, but I mean it this time. So if you'll
brace available next time one of your cancelers cancel, give me a heads up and I'll jump on if I'm available.
Okay. Well, don't leave. Stay in the green room, but we have to log off the official stream because we get cut off after an hour. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow, America, on Firefox, I guess. Anyway, goodbye. Ha! Ooh.